INFJs, they're often pegged as the enigma wrapped in a riddle of the Myers-Briggs world. Now, you might hear folks throwing around labels like antisocial, emotionally clingy, or even psychic? But hold on, because today we're busting through the myths and unveil the straight-up truth behind the INFJ vibe. So buckle up, because we're going to take a wild ride into the INFJ mind, clearing up the confusion once and for all. Stick around, folks, as we tear into 14 myths that have been bugging INFJs for way too long, and get ready to have your mind blown by what you thought you knew. All right, let's dive right into myth number 1, being antisocial. Now, one of the most persistent myths about INFJs is that they're antisocial. But guess what? That's totally false. INFJs aren't antisocial. They're just socially selective. They crave depth, not superficial interactions. So when you picture an INFJ at a party, you won't see them engaging in shallow chit-chat about the weather or what's for dinner. Instead, they're seeking that one person who's ready to talk about the meaning of life or their deepest fears and dreams. INFJs aren't running from people, they're running from shallow relationships. They find energy in deep, meaningful conversations, not in large social settings. So if an INFJ isn't around at a social event, it's not because they're avoiding people, but because they don't feel a connection with the group. They're socially selective, not antisocial. All right, let's dive into myth number 2, emotionally needy. Now, I know you've probably heard the whispers, the rumors, INFJs, always chasing that emotional validation. But let me tell you, that's just not the reality. INFJs, they're like emotional fortresses, heavily guarded. They don't just spill their guts to anyone. They're watching, they're analyzing, waiting to see if you're the real deal before they even crack the gate. Trust, it's got to be earned. And when an INFJ finally lets you in, it's because they see something special in you, someone who can handle the depths. They're not looking for someone to fill a void. They just want someone real, someone authentic, who they can connect with on a level that goes way beyond the surface. So if an INFJ trusts you with their secrets, whoa, consider yourself lucky. It's not neediness. It's a genuine, deep connection. All right, let's dive right into myth number 3. Overly judgmental. Ever heard someone say INFJs are judgmental? That they think they're better than everyone else? Well, that's a total misconception. INFJs are moral perfectionists. And get this, they are often hardest on themselves. They hold themselves to high standards, and naturally, they'll hold others to those same standards. But it's not about superiority, it's about authenticity. INFJs have a deep desire to improve the world around them, and they want others to strive for their highest potential as well. They don't judge people's souls, no way. They judge actions. They want to see people living in alignment with their values. It's about making the world a better place, not about feeling superior. You see? Moving on, myth number 4, we've got psychic abilities. All right, let's get one thing crystal clear. INFJs, not psychic, but their intuition? Oh, now that's where the magic happens. INFJs are like total ninjas at reading between the lines and connecting dots that fly right over everyone else's heads. They can spot the tiniest changes in behavior, tone, even body language, and use all that to make seriously informed calls. It's not some kind of hocus pocus. It's just years and years of laser-focused observation. INFJs have this crazy sharp intuition that makes them say things like, I just know, but trying to explain how they got there? Forget it, that'd take forever. So no, they don't have superpowers. They've just got a super deep understanding of people. All right, myth number 5, perfectionists to a fault. Now here's a big one. INFJs, they're often pegged as perfectionists, but it's not the kind of perfectionism that leads to endless procrastination. See, INFJs don't just want everything to be perfect. They want everything to be, meaningful. Their standards, incredibly high, because they don't just want to get things done. They're all about creating something of real value. INFJs might put off projects not because they're lazy, but because they feel that the quality and impact of their work, it matters way more than simply finishing it. And here's the thing. As INFJs learn to embrace imperfection, they realize that growth, it comes from the process, not just the result. All right, myth number 6, cryptic and hard to understand. So, INFJs often get tagged as cryptic or hard to understand, right? Because their thoughts, Man, they can seem like this totally tangled mess of ideas. But here's the thing, INFJs, they're just multi-layered thinkers. Seriously, their minds are like this intricate web, constantly processing multiple layers of information. What might seem like an incoherent rant is actually a carefully composed symphony of ideas, you know? INFJs, they communicate in a way that's totally nonlinear. It's like jazz. Yeah, once you get their groove, everything just clicks. They're not trying to be mysterious. They're just processing the world in a way that's like deep and complex. All right, let's dive into myth number 7, hard to love. Now, a lot of folks figure INFJs are tough nuts to crack when it comes to love. But check this out. INFJs ain't hard to love. They're hard to fool. They're all about those deep, real connections, and they're not going to be wowed by just some flashy charm or sweet talk. Forget the big showy stuff. They just need you to get them, you know? If you're looking to love an INFJ, you've got to get who they really are. And yeah, that's going to take some time and effort. But once you're through those walls, they're going to take you on one heck of an emotional roller coaster. That's totally worth the ride. Seriously, they're more than worth the work it takes to connect. All right, myth number 8, we've got always all serious and no fun. Now, you know, INFJs often get pegged as these super serious types, always lost in thought, never just chilling out. But check it, here's the real deal. INFJs, they've got this sneaky dry wit about them. They'll crack a joke that'll have you scratching your head at first, then, bam, it hits you later. And sometimes, they're going to make you really think about what they're getting at. Trust me, they're not boring. They're just not into the whole mindless fun thing. They're all about that smart, insightful humor that shakes things up. So don't go thinking their depth means they're no fun. They're like a treasure chest of witty insights. All right, myth number 9. Can't take criticism. Okay, so yeah, INFJs, they might seem a little sensitive to criticism, but hey, that doesn't mean they can't actually handle it. I mean, they're totally cool with constructive feedback, especially if it's going to help them level up, you know? But here's the thing, they can't stand criticism that's just, tactless. INFJs, they just need a little respect, that's all. Talk to them like they're, actual human beings, and they'll soak up that feedback like a sponge. Seriously, it's not about being all dramatic or overly sensitive. It's really just about wanting to be treated with like dignity while they're getting input that's going to help them get better. All right, let's dive into myth number 10. Being too idealistic and unrealistic. Now, INFJs, they're often painted as, just too idealistic, right? Like they're dreaming of this perfect world, but here's the cool part. Their ideals totally rooted in action. Yeah, they get that change takes time. It takes effort. So they don't just wish for a better world. They're out there making it happen. They might not expect perfection, but they definitely believe in progress. So yeah, while their dreams are big, they're always paired with like these amazing plans of action to turn them into reality. All right, myth number 11. Social chameleons. Now, some folks say INFJs are like social chameleons, right? Constantly shifting gears to fit in with different groups. But check it, this ain't manipulation. It's their way of adapting, morphing to their environment so they can like totally belong. They're just adjusting to the vibe, not to deceive, but to spark genuine connections. And underneath all this adaptability, a seriously strong core self that remains totally unchanged. So no way, they're not pretending to be someone they're not. They're just finding the best way to connect with people in any given situation. All right, let's dive right into myth number 12. Soaking up other people's emotions like a sponge. Now, INFJs, they've got this rep for being super empathetic, right? They can totally read a room's vibe. But here's the thing, that doesn't mean they're just emotional sponges. Get it? INFJs, they set boundaries when they need to, and they can totally tell their feelings apart from everyone else's. They're not just soaking up every random emotion. No way. Instead, they're using their sensitivity to really connect with people while, still keeping their own emotional space safe and sound. All right, myth number 13, fragile and can't handle pressure. Now, INFJs, they're sometimes seen as a little fragile, like they can't handle the heat, right? But that couldn't be further from the truth. INFJs, they've got this silent strength, see, that lets them weather any emotional storm, any tough situation. Their resilience, it's all rooted in their compassion, and when they believe in something, whoa, they rise to the occasion with this unwavering resolve. I mean, their ability to stay calm when things get crazy, that's what makes them incredibly strong, even when it doesn't seem like it on the surface. All right, myth number 14, overthinking everything to a fault. Yes, INFJs, they weigh out every single angle when it comes to a situation, because they don't overthink. They think in complexity. Though they can ruminate on facts for too long, this leads to meaningful revelations more often than not. They're not mired in their own heads. They're figuring out puzzles that others haven't even seen yet. INFJs are enigmas, not because they are trying to be, but because they occupy the spaces other people sweep under the rug. They pick up on emotions, observe trends, and excel at being real. Their myths aren't so much about who they are, as how the world takes to their rare existence. If you're fortunate enough to know one, do not judge the misconceptions. Witness their heart. An empathic, intuitive spirit struggling to make the light shine in a society and world that often has not recognized the beauty of that soul. INFJs are not mythical creatures. They are deeply human, trying to reconcile what is with what could be. That's it for this video, and I see ya in the next one.